Hello, hello, lovely people of LinkedIn and YouTube. Welcome back to another Monday LinkedIn Live. Happy Monday, everybody. And today we have an amazing guest who has to unmute himself, Peter, and we will be talking about the new and popular social media app, Clubhouse, and if it's worth trying it or not. Is it just a time waster, or can it be a good marketing tool to generate leads? But Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And please do introduce yourself quickly to the audience before we start.
Thanks, Mia. I'm a leadership coach. I'm the co-founder of The Mind Takeaway, and I also have two podcasts that I'm the co-host of, one being the same name, The Mind Takeaway, and the second one is Unlearning Labels.
Okay, short and sweet. Well, Clubhouse. So I'm guessing everybody has already seen some sort of post like, can I get an invite? Or I'm on the Clubhouse, or you have to be on the Clubhouse or you're missing out big. It's the next best thing. And then I've seen a lot of posts where people are also saying that they are hooked on Clubhouse like on cocaine, and they are not sleeping, they are not working, and it's just a huge time waster. So how about if you give us like a little quick introduction into what this whole Clubhouse thing is, and then we'll start from there.
Yeah, no worries. I think the easiest way to explain it is it's a live voice app. So it's audio only, and you can have conversations about any topic, and you can create rooms. And within the Clubhouse community, the topics or the interests are called verticals. So they could be leadership, marketing, spirituality, you name it. You can talk about whatever you want. And once you're in the app, eventually, the more that you use it, the more that you host or co-host rooms or follow people, you actually get more invites the longer you're on the application, I guess.
Okay, so I think you saw the hello that we got from Natalie from Munich. So hello, Natalie. Okay, so it's just voice. And there are big rooms, medium-sized rooms, smaller rooms. So maybe let's start with that. What's your experience so far when it comes to positioning yourself, branding yourself, having your voice heard?
Well, honestly, my personal pick would be to start off with the smaller rooms, although I've been in really large rooms where there's been over 1,000 people. But actually, I much prefer the smaller rooms. The sweet spot for me is about 20 or 30 people, because then you can actually get to know people, have a proper human connection. And if you're the facilitator, then it's easier to manage that amount of people. Because let's be honest, if you've got a room of, over 100 people, you're probably not going to get to connect, or at least a lot of the people in the room might not get to speak or have a voice, right?
No, absolutely, absolutely. I'm trying to manage because we are getting hellos now from Simona as well.
Hey, Simona.
Yeah, so I'm like all over the place. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm always saying quality versus quantity. And even though those big rooms might seem tempting, but how much can you really say? How much attention can you really get? Will you even get picked to say something once you press that I want to speak button? So, okay, let's go to the beginning. So how long have you now been on Clubhouse, and what was your experience so far?
I think I've been on there about a month, and it's actually been really positive. Although, as you say, they call it AKA the crack house, simply because it is super addictive, if I'm honest. I've actually had friends and colleagues that seem to be on it, 6+ hours a day. For me, a little small tip is I actually have it on an iPad because my phone's Android, so it actually limits my access. So for Mira and I, running the Mind Takeaway, and for the other podcast, we just get on we do our rooms and we get off it. We do support other colleagues and friends if they have an event or they want us to support them. But if I'm honest, I try and limit my social media usage because it is really super addictive. I mean, if I'm honest, in the first maybe 2 days, I was jumping in and out of rooms like no business. But then I realized that actually it was detracting from me and we were losing focus in, what we were meant to be doing really. So yeah, just to watch that, because like every social media app, it wants you to be super addicted and spend time on it, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's how they make money eventually. So, yeah, one thing to notice to all our viewers and listeners is that Clubhouse app, as of now, the day we are recording this, is only available for iPhones and iPads, so for Apple devices. Who knows, maybe that will change in the future. Maybe if somebody watches this a month or a year from now, it will already be on Android, but as of this recording, it's Apple only. So you have to be either on iPhone or on an iPad to use it. Well, Peter, after you did the little digging around in the first few days, how did you then starting to come up with your strategy, how you will use it? Were you modeling somebody? Did you get some advice from somebody, or was it like a little bit of trial and error? So how did that happen?
A little bit of trial and error, pure experimentation, and also I was lucky to know a few people. So we just jumped in rooms, and actually Mira and I, for the mind takeaway, we started a room without really knowing how it functioned. But it's actually really simple, because once you are a facilitator of the room, or for example, they call it moderators, you can basically bring people in. So you can ping people, and if they're in, for example, one of your followers, you can remind them that you're in there. So slowly but surely, people started to join, and it wasn't so manic where we had, if I'm honest, 1,000 people straight away. So it was actually quite a nice, manageable group. I think our first one was about 12 or 15 people, and we just connected with them and stuck to the subject matter. It's the same as any kind of facilitation, whether you were on Zoom or running a workshop. It's just that you can't see anyone. Literally, the people in the room are in rows, and all you can see is your avatar or the picture. And you can bring people in, or at least invite them to speak, but they have a choice whether they want to speak or not. And there's a mute button and a raise hand button. So it's a really simple app, but it's actually really powerful. So for me, in terms of the podcast or having two podcasts, it was a no-brainer, because we can continue the conversation and really engage with our listeners and our audience. So we just keep talking, for example, about the topics that we raise in the podcast. And then each week we do a couple of rooms based on those topics, and we can just go deeper. We can, open the topic up to the floor, and we can really learn from our audience as well. So it's a really good way of producing content and experimenting and getting instant feedback, rather than, as you know, with a podcast, you get the downloads, you get the listeners, but it's kind of static in terms of the feedback unless someone manually reaches out to you, right?
No, yeah, absolutely. And, I was slowly getting you to the point where we would start talking about how feasible it is to use Clubhouse for generating lead, generating business. But here it is, Simona, with a question for Peter. Did you get some great connections from Clubhouse, like real business or business connections, business opportunities? Let's call it that way.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you, Simona. I did actually pretty much straight out the gate. And then I was actually quick to reach out and get curious about who these people were. So the good thing about Clubhouse as well, it actually lets you connect to your Instagram and Twitter account. So no surprise, all of the people that I was following or were following me, I got curious, are they the kind of people that I would like to extend and look out on other platforms? And I connected with them on, for example, LinkedIn, and continue the conversation. And that led to me supporting them in other rooms. And no surprise, some of these people were back for our rooms, and it was a constant support. So it's actually a good way of organically growing your community. And so far, so good. But again, the caveat with all of these things, right, is that we were very mindful straight away. And when I say we, myself and Mira for the Mind Takeaway, and ourselves and Cordelia for the other podcast, we agreed straight away that we would limit our usage on here because we just didn't want to burn ourselves out. And the crucial thing as well, we didn't want our audience to see us there 24/7, because they're just going to get bored, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I guess there needs to be some sort of a time limit, or it can just go on and on and on and on. Now, let's see what Natalie's saying. Simona, I have gotten prospects, not turned into real business, but we are discussing. Okay, that sounds good. Well, Natalie, I'm sorry we can't bring you in here as well to share a little bit of your experience. It's a great spot to create visibility for oneself. Okay, I can agree on that one. Well, I mean, everybody knows how in love I am with systems and processes. So, Peter, I would love to invite you to share a little bit of that process of yours. So you start a room, you start conversating, you start pinging people in, people join in, and then, you look at their profiles and you go beyond Twitter and Instagram. So I would love to hear how you are creating that process for yourself.
Yeah, it's quite a simple one, but basically when we set the room, we have a clear view of what we're going to do with it. So for example, there's always a set topic each week, and these topics actually relate to our podcast, whether it's a past episode or one we feel we're going to do in the future. And like I said before, it's a good test bed for us to test new topics and see whether the audience is really interested. For example, Natalie has joined us then. She joined one of the rooms recently as well. And Natalie and I have actually appeared on a podcast together as well. So yeah, after that, once we do the room and we facilitate the room itself, we gather feedback, real time, and we just have a really nice connected conversation. And after that, we do a bit of a debrief, myself and the co-host, and we see if that topic's going to be something that has legs. Do we want to carry it on in future episodes, or do we want to create some content for it? So like I said before, it's a great test bed and a good platform to do a lot of experimentation freely, and you get instant feedback that you can document, and then you can see whether that can take your business forward. So in terms of your the reason for us having this live, I would say it's a great platform for lead generation and a great way to test whether your content is going to work in the real world, because instantly the people in the room give you real-time feedback.
Okay, so that's that part. And then, some people join your room, you see that there's, some potential because of the conversation to continue the conversation. And, like you said, you can see their Twitter, their Instagram, but you're actually taking that even further to LinkedIn. So I'm interested a little bit on how do you do the research? How do you then connect on LinkedIn, and how do you continue the conversation there?
Well, again, if I've already been curious to connect with their social media platforms, so Instagram, Twitter, etc., there's no surprise that I've reached out on LinkedIn. And like I said, I just continue the conversation, and that leads to other things. So for example, it's led to collaboration. It's led to client generation. So I've been able to help people one-on-one coaching, that kind of thing. So like I say, so far it's so good because you can really start to reach out organically to people without having to do a lot of the guesswork. And if you've already interacted with them in a group, or in one of the rooms on Clubhouse, then there's a good chance that it's going to lead to something else, or at the very least you're going to have someone else added to your community. And that's the main thing for me. It's such a wonderful platform that if you want to meet people who are like-minded, but just the caveat to that, Miha, is that you need to do the groundwork. So for example, Mira and I and our other co-host, we were actually very clear from the get-go in terms of who we want to have in these rooms, and we reach out to these people. So a second part of it is the people that we've already connected with on, for example, LinkedIn. We are constantly in contact with them, reminding them that we have the weekly rooms, and then when it makes sense, we invite them back into the rooms on a weekly basis, and we're posting and sharing content in that way.
Okay, yeah, that really sounds interesting. So we have two comments from Simona. So the first one, she is congratulating Natalie and saying that she might have been in two big rooms, which what you've talked about, and it could be true. But then we have another one. So Simona is saying that you just gave her a great idea to test her content by using Clubhouse. So she's saying thanks.
And Samana.
Well, Peter, I mean, you are giving very, very to the point answers where I think we've covered like almost the whole topic already, and we are just 15 minutes in. So, um, what is there anything else, any advice that you would, on top of what we already talked about, want to give to somebody in regards to Clubhouse?
Oh yeah, loads. So we can fill up space, no problem. The first thing I'd say is if you're going to start a room, don't be scared, be curious, experiment, but try and find some people that are like-minded. Because I think what saved me initially, I was more willing to be bold because I had a second person to co-facilitate with. And that was really important because once you reach 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 people, it's really difficult to see if you're just having a conversation or you're speaking, it's difficult to see who's putting the hand up, who's joining the room. So you need at least two people to help you, i.e. a co-facilitator, because when people join the room, you have to then manually decide if you're going to allow them to be a speaker. And if you do that, then you've got a second wave of people who might be curious about the actual topic and they're getting deep in conversation. So then they might be putting their hand up and wanting to speak. So like I say, it's like Zoom or like facilitating any other discussion, but you can't see people. So you've got to be a little bit mindful about what's happening because it's all just playing out in real time organically. So it's really nice to have at least one or two people. Or if you're a bit nervous, for example, add a few people, friends, colleagues who are going to be a bit more supportive. Because remember, these people, it's just a room of public people. Other than inviting people, you have no control who joins the room. But don't be scared because honestly, so far it's been really positive. And I've
Quick
heard
question,
some.
Peter.
Oh, go
Sorry,
on, yeah,
but quick
yeah.
question. Did you ever so far start a room by yourself? I'm just thinking that, you are fortunate that, you have your lovely wife who joins you. You two are building the business together, the podcast, and you are both involved in the whole thing. Now, some of us, we are all alone on the Clubhouse. I mean, yes, we do have friends, but like you said, if you have a co-host, you can fill in the gaps, you can have the conversation going, you can prepare, I guess, some of the topics that you can talk about if there is some dead silence. Did you start any of the rooms by yourself, and were you able to handle that?
Yeah, you can do it on your own. I'm just saying if it makes sense and you've got that capacity to do that. But yeah, it's a good point. So a good challenge. Appreciate that. Yeah, you can do it on your own. You've just got to be, as I say, mindful. And when you do it for the first time, like anything new, you'll be a little bit apprehensive, maybe a little bit worried, a bit of anxiety. But it's actually such a simple, powerful application that it's very easy to use. So yeah, I don't want to scare people off. You don't actually need two people. I'm just saying it helps. Yeah.
Okay, okay. We have another comment from Natalie saying that these big rooms are also great to get some insights and so on. It doesn't hurt to pop in. Her strategy is only jump into rooms where people whose insights I found useful in the past are speaking, which I guess it's go into big rooms here when you resonate with somebody, follow them, and then when they start their own rooms, get in there as fast as possible, and there's your opportunity to be able to talk to maybe somebody who otherwise you wouldn't be able to have a conversation with. What's your take on that, Peter?
Yeah, totally agree. And I actually know Natalie a bit, and I think it's such a good strategy. I tried that initially as well. And that's the exciting thing about the platform. Don't be scared to follow someone into a room. And then once the more people you follow, people are already pinging you, reminding you that there's a really cool room and it's in the ballpark. It's a kind of like-minded topic that I know you might be interested in. So you just jump in a room and then you get connected to people pretty quick. And again, people start to follow you pretty organically straight out the gate, rather than the normal clunkiness of, the more dated social media platforms like Facebook and the like. So yeah, I mean, it's a simple thing. It's a simple, powerful platform. And I just think you should just be not scared just to look at something that you like, a particular topic, or like I said, they call them verticals. So if you're into leadership, for example, and you find someone like-minded, follow them, and then don't be surprised if they start to invite you into a group. Like the other day, I was invited into a group, and already, without asking, they pinged me into being a speaker and a facilitator. And to be fair, I didn't even know half of the topic or what was going on. But again, people are so supportive, and it's like quite a collaborative thing that you'll get the hang of it pretty quick.
Okay, I get it. Well, Peter, maybe a very important question. So you already mentioned that you have to be very mindful to use this as a tool, because otherwise it can quickly get a bit too overwhelming, and you can find yourself spending a whole lot of time on Clubhouse. And then the question would be, how much of that time is you being productive versus you just binging on the content? Do you have any personal strategies or something to, be able to say, okay, I've done my part. It's time for me to close the app, and for the next couple of hours, I'm off Clubhouse, unless, there's really somebody I really want to jump in and support.
Yeah, that's a good one. And it's actually essential with this app because like I said, it's really not like other social media platforms. I would say it's even more addictive. And the first week you use it, you could lose a lot of time if you're not careful. I know I did in the first few days. So what I'd recommend, this is what I do. I'm making attention, what do I want to get out of, the rooms that we've set up? And then I don't actually go into the platform other than the 2 or 3 rooms that we run weekly. Not to say if I want, if there's someone that asks for support, or one of my colleagues, or for example, Natalie, who joined us now, said, I've got this great room, could you make up the numbers? Then I would do that, no problem. But what I found is, if you just open the app, like many social media apps, this is not endless scrolling, it's endless audio, and it's quite addictive, because you join a room and you get into a weird and wonderful conversation, and then before you know it, you've lost 2 hours. So yeah, just a small tip. I mean, the other one as well is, I'm not going to lie, I don't have an iPhone, which actually saved me, because I nicked Mira's iPad and just installed it on that. So even if I wanted to, the phone I'm carrying around doesn't have the app on. So
Okay.
that's quite a useful thing as well, if I'm honest. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did build FOMO pretty well into the whole thing, because like LinkedIn Live, it's recorded, people can watch the replay. We are streaming to YouTube as well, which means people can watch the replay on the YouTube. Facebook Lives, it's there, it doesn't go away. Here everything is live content, and you can easily get into that, oh shit, what if I miss something that somebody will say, and I just want to stay, I have to stay. So I'm guessing it's even more addictive from that point of view than at least any other social media app that I know.
Well, I'll tell you a few little stats for you. I was doing a bit of research today because someone was asking me, how many users do they have? So there was an update last week, and they said it's plus 2 million users and counting. And remember, it's only in beta right now, and that's before the other Android version is out, and they haven't really done any. They haven't really smashed the marketing yet. So I would imagine that it's going to absolutely explode. It's going to double its size overnight, probably in the next few months. And I've heard rumors that they're going to have subscription-based offerings as well. So I'm guessing that for people like ourselves who want to grow an organic base, grow their community through your podcast, etc., then they'll probably take some kind of fee for charging for paid subscription services. So they're really already hitting the ground running. And that's before they've even really switched half of the app on, right?
Okay, that sounds interesting. Well, I did hear a few weeks ago that I think Twitter is trying to create something
Yes.
similar. So we'll see how those battles will go. I mean, so far the big corporations normally they ruin a good thing, not that much create something really amazing. So I'm not too worried about Clubhouse, but it might be a fierce competition. And the way they are doing with this invites, on one hand, it's an amazing marketing. I mean, half of Facebook is, can I get an invite or something like that? Or at least that was the case a few weeks ago. I think now they're letting more and more invites in. I mean, I know I'm getting like 3 invites every week to give out to people. So I guess that will speed up the growth. But yeah, that will be also interesting to see how all that competition will play into the whole game.
There is one thing I wanted to mention as well, just you've got to be mindful because it's in beta right now. It's a little bit annoying that you can't get all of your clients on there because, like I say, some people are maybe still on Android and they don't have an iOS device. And there's a lot of people, let's be honest, that maybe can't afford to be on iOS. Like there's a lot of people I know in India that would love to get on there, but again, they might only have an older Android phone right now. So you've got to be a little bit patient. But like I say, that it's really been exciting for us because we've reached out to people that we never would have connected with before. It's a super diverse set of people, and there's only, like I say, 2 million on there versus the billions that's on, likes of Facebook.
No, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, Peter, before I go away from Clubhouse app and ask you a few different questions, and I mean, I will be talking to you in a few weeks' time on another LinkedIn Live. So this was a very improvised one. A lady who was supposed to be on LinkedIn Live today, she got an amazing offer to go skiing last minute. So she rescheduled her LinkedIn Live. I saw an opportunity as we talked on Friday. I was like, oh, wow, like that's interesting insights that you were sharing with me. And I was like, let's get here. Let's share that with the world. So we will be talking again in a few weeks' time on other leadership topics. But do you have anything you want to add to the whole Clubhouse thing before we move on?
Just to conclude that, I looked at the other things like all of us, right? We're trying to leverage all of the social media platforms, but people were always hounding me to be on TikTok. But if I'm honest, not to bash that platform, I just didn't get it. Whereas this, straight out the gate, it makes sense, maybe because I'm an audio engineer as well. I've got that background and that mileage. But for me, audio is a really good sweet spot. And no surprise, if you've got a podcast, you really need to get on this. And again, I don't mean the urgency and get all FOMO about it, but just have a clear intention. What would you like to share? How would you like to impact your audience? And, if you've got that in the back of your mind and you don't smash the hours on it, then I think you're onto a winner.
Okay, cool. So shameless self-plug. So people can find you on Clubhouse at Peter Griffiths. They can find me at Fail Coach. So if they want to connect with you, connect with me. And if they're on Clubhouse, that's an easy way. I haven't started my rooms or anything yet. I was working on this studio thingy. So in the next couple of days, I will get into the trenches as well. Peter, just quickly, not Clubhouse related. If all of this is resonating with people and they would love to get in touch with you, maybe they're not on Clubhouse yet, so that's not an option. What's the easiest, best way to talk to you? And what are some of the topics that you are most passionate about that people should reach out to you for?
I guess the best place, the easiest one is LinkedIn. Just send me a message. I'm always super excited to speak to people, and especially if it's around the topics of leadership or creativity. So for me, I'm always helping leaders to just get connected to finding ways forward where they can really lead with authenticity and become more human-centric. So it's more of a humans first approach rather than the numbers, you know? And on the creative side, it's really just, you know, instead of smashing your head against a brick wall, you know, I really help people see clear way how to innovate, and especially at team levels.
Perfect. One last question, um, unrelated to the topic, but what would be that one last golden nugget of wisdom that you want to leave the audience with?
Like I said before, just be mindful of how much time you spend on there. Have a clear view of what you want to get out of it and who you want to impact, and you won't go wrong.
Well, that's a good one. Being mindful is always a good thing. Peter, thank you so much for taking the
You're welcome.
time for
Thank you.
doing this improvised, impromptu LinkedIn Live. I really appreciate everything that you've shared. I've learned a lot, and I'm going to do a whole lot more of testing and trying on Clubhouse. I know Simona will as well, for sure. And yeah, just all the best. And I'm already looking very much forward to our next LinkedIn Live in a few weeks, because it's another topic that's very dear to my heart. So thank you so much for taking
Thank you,
the time.
Mika.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
and take care.
See you later.
Okay, everybody. So this was Peter, and we were talking about Clubhouse. If you haven't heard about the Clubhouse app yet, which would be strange, if you're on an iPhone, if you're on an iPad, just go to the App Store, type in Clubhouse. It's a social media platform where everything is done through voice communication, real-time voice communication. So you create a room or you join a room, and you just have a conversation live with people who are also in the room. Really amazing thing. If you're into audio, like I love audio, you know, probably if you ever got message from me on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, most certainly it was a voice message, because I love communicating by voice much more than typing. So for somebody like me, it's the perfect app. Yes, you do need an invitation, and you know, feel free to reach out to me, send me a message. If you need an invite, I do have a few left, and like I said, every few days, every week, they give us more invitations to give out. So yeah, I'll be more than happy to invite you onto the app if you need one. That's it for today. Happy Monday again, everybody. I hope you're all okay, that you're safe, that you're healthy, wherever you are in the world. And I'm very much looking forward to next Monday, when we will do another great interview. I'm doing my best to bring the best possible guests to this show. Thank you all for supporting, for watching replays live. Don't forget, we have the YouTube channel now as well. Just search for my name on YouTube, and so you can see all the replays from the past without having to scroll through my newsfeed here on LinkedIn. So it's a much easier, and I have a nice little playlist there with all the LinkedIn lives laid out in one playlist. So you can check it out and check the ones that you want. And yeah, that's more or less it. Have fun, everybody. Enjoy the week. And I'll see you next Monday. Bye.